Xin chào quý vị, hôm nay là
My name
ngày
is
21
Frank
tháng
Aurelio
2025.
Yokoyama, and I am proud to serve as the mayor of the
Đây
city
là
of
ông thị trưởng
Cerritos,
của thành phố
and
Cerritos
I'm honored to welcome all of you
và
to
rất
the
hân hạnh
fantastic
được
city of
tiếp các
Cerritos
khán giả đến đây.
here in our awesome Cerritos Library in our
Đây là một
beautiful
cái thư
skyline.
viện rất đẹp của thành phố Cerritos. Yes.
If you haven't already had a chance, please make sure you check out the awesome view of our Cerritos Center for the Performing Arts before you leave. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Tụi mình sẽ
Please stand,
tuyên thệ.
put your hand over your heart, your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. So these are the audiences today.
I would like to introduce
Thái tử Afghanistan.
special guests here in the audience. I'd like to introduce Cerritos Council Member Mark Polito.
Đây là một người cao trong ủy viên của thành phố Cerritos.
We also have from the city of La Palma,
Thành phố La Palma,
City Council Member
ủy viên
Janet Keel,
Janet Keel.
and from the city of Artesia,
Thành phố
we have
Artesia
Artesia Mayor Ali Taj.
có thị trưởng Mayor Alitosh.
The city of Cerritos extends our
Thành phố
appreciation
Cerritos
to
rất là cảm
United
ơn
States Representative
đại diện
Derek
cho
Tran and his team
dân biểu
for holding today's
Liên
town
bang
hall meeting
Derek Tran.
here of our
Hôm nay là một
state-of-the-art
họp mặt
Cerritos Library.
của Derek Tran
And we would like to
đến khán
thank
giả.
all of you who joined us today inside our beautiful
45.
skyline. I have the honor today of introducing Congressman Derek Tran,
Tôi rất
who was
hân hạnh
elected to his first term in Congress on November 5,
để đại diện
2024.
giới thiệu về Derek Tran.
Congressman Tran represents California's 45th Congressional District in the United States House of Representatives.
Derek Tran
The
đại diện
district
dân biểu
serves
liên bang
15
của Điện hạt
cities
45,
in Los Angeles
trong đó có
County
15
and
thành phố.
Orange County, including the more than 49,500 people who live in the city of Cerritos.
và thành phố
Congressman
Cerritos có
Tran
hơn
is a
400.000
member
người.
of the House Armed Services Committee
Derek là trong đại diện
and
của
the House
Forces
Small
Committee,
Business Committee,
Committee về
where he focuses on national security,
liên quan tới an
economic
ninh của
issues,
đất nước.
consumer protections, and access to capital for small business owners and
Derek cũng là
entrepreneurs.
một người bảo vệ cho
On behalf of the city of Cerritos
consumer, là những người
and
mà
the
tiêu
Cerritos City Council, it is my honor
mà
to
mua hàng
welcome
hóa.
Congressman Derek Tran.
Yes.
Well, hello everyone.
Hello, Derek.
I am so excited to be here. It's great to be in Cerritos today. I want to thank my friend Mayor Frank Yokoyama for joining us. I also want to thank the city of Cerritos and their staff for welcoming us to this beautiful space. These last few months in Congress has been a whirlwind, full of exciting and definitely unexpected challenges. But whenever I come back home, I'm reminded why I take that long flight to Washington every week, fighting for you. Fighting for you is the honor of a lifetime. I want to offer a special thank you to my guest, John Bauman, for being here today to speak about protecting Social Security. Our seniors earn those benefits, and I will always fight to protect them. I'm excited to bring John out on stage shortly to talk about his important work Since day one in Congress, my mission has been simple. Stand up for the people of California's 45th district
Tôi rất muốn đại
and
diện
make
cho
government work for you.
những người trong 15 thành phố trong đại học của Việt Nam bảo vệ cho hết những người dân
As a
của Việt
member
Nam.
of both the House Armed Services Committee and Small Business Committee, I'm fighting every day to defend the programs, services, and funding
Mỗi
that makes
ngày
a
tôi
real
chiến đấu
difference
cho
in our community.
những cái quyền lợi cho những dân chúng
Washington
dân
is
ở
even
địa hạt
more
45.
partisan than I was expecting. Our president was elected to bring down costs at the grocery store, at the gas pump, in our housing market, but I'm not seeing much commitment to bringing down our bills from this administration. All I've seen so far are proposals that would cut healthcare, gut education funding, and cut investments in our communities. That's unacceptable. I grew up on Medi-Cal, on WIC, on Section 8 housing. These programs are a bridge to a better life. And let me be clear, I will never vote to cut these programs for families that need them.
Đó là tôi sẽ không có bao giờ mà cắt những cái chương trình mà cho những
I've
người
also
nghèo,
made it a top
trong đó có Medicaid,
priority
có
to stand
housing
up for our veterans. These
và
are
bảo vệ cho
men
những người
and
mà
women who stepped
trong
up
quân
to
đội.
serve our country, and they deserve more than just words. That's why the very first bill I introduced in Congress was the Protect Veterans Jobs Act, to rehire over 6,000 veterans who were wrongfully fired from their federal jobs under the Trump administration at the direction of unelected Elon Musk. I also voted against a reckless budget proposal that cut funding to veterans care, affordable housing, wildfire response, and nutrition programs. The proposal
Rất
also
chống lại cho một
eliminated
cái bill mà đã cắt
21.8
6.000 công việc làm cho những người của
project
bên
funding
Hoa
for
Kỳ,
our districts.
nên rất muốn là những 6 người đó, 6.000 người đó được có công việc làm trở lại.
Response centers, clean water infrastructure, and fire station upgrades across our district. When I was elected, I promised to work across the aisle to make life better for this community. That promise is still my North Star every single day. When I have the opportunity to work with Republicans to make progress for our district, I'm going to jump at that opportunity. But when I
Nếu
see
có
a
cơ hội mà Derek
proposal
làm việc với
that
lại
hurts
bên
us,
đảng Cộng hòa thì
that
Derek
takes
sẽ
us
làm
away
để
from
đem
critical
những cái quyền lợi
resources and make life
cho
harder,
những người dân ở
I'm
trong
not
khu vực
afraid to
45.
stand up and say no. I'm here to listen and to bring your voices back to Washington with me. So thank you for being here. With that, I'd like to invite a very special guest to the stage with me, John Bowser Ballman, who is here on behalf of the organization Social Security Works. John, please join me. John, thank you so much for being here with us today. Can you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and the work that you are doing with Social Security Works?
Sure. Well, some of you
Cho nó đại diện
probably
cho
are familiar
làm
with
việc
me
về
as
Social Security
Bowser
Work, có
from
nghĩa
the
là cho
musical
những
group Sha-Na-Na.
cái quyền lợi quan trọng cho những người dân.
Yes, I'm that Bowser. Last time I was in Cerritos, I was doing a show at Cerritos Center.
Trước đây là tôi có tới Cerritos, một thành phố rất là đẹp
8 years
để
or so, Bowser's rock and
làm
roll party at Cerritos Center, so that was great. But I just retired from performing. Actually, my last show was in February, and now I'm doing full time on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and drug prices. But I have been doing this for a long time, since 2004, and my latest role is as senior advisor to Social Security Works and also president of Social Security Works PAC, which doesn't come into play today. But those of you who are familiar with me know that I love the music of the 50s and the early 60s. Some of the greatest music of all time. But
right.
that does not mean that I actually want to return to the 50s or the early 60s, and neither should you. Because I do not want to return a time before Medicare was passed in 1965, because at that time, over 35% of American seniors had incomes below the poverty line.
Cái thời 1962
And I
thì
certainly
Medicare được
Do not want to return to a time before Social Security was
lúc
passed
đó
in
hơn
1935. Because before
35%
Social
những
Security,
người cao niên đó,
over
họ không có đủ tiền
50%,
để họ lo cho sức
more
khỏe
than
của họ.
one out of
Nên
every
cái chương trình này rất
two
là quan trọng.
American seniors had incomes below the poverty line. Social Security and Medicare are the two most successful domestic programs in the entire history of the United States of America, and we need to keep them that way.
Yes.
In fact, we need to expand them.
Hai chương trình Social Security với lại Medicare
But
phải
as the
cần phải
Congressman knows, we're
mở
not
rộng ra
really in
thêm cho nhiều
expansion mode
người
in
có
this
thể có
moment.
bảo hiểm sức khỏe
We're in a different mode.
và có retirement.
We're in a mode that I did a great rally on April 5th, as did many people. And the first thing I came out and said was, hands off Social Security. Say it with me.
Hands off Social Security.
That's the mode we're in. We're in no cuts. We're back in no cuts. We're back in the world where this program is
Không có nâng cấp cái
endangered
chương trình, hai chương trình quốc
and
hội
it's
cho người dân.
worrisome. And there's this new entity called Doge that you all know about. Right, boo. That's going after this in a very particular way that's really never happened before. I do have to say, for the length of time that I've been working on this, and it's even more troublesome that for the length of time that our founder at Social Security works, my friend and colleague Nancy Altman, who knows more about Social Security than anybody else in America, she says, in the 50 years that she has worked on Social Security, that this is the biggest assault on Social Security in her lifetime. It's in the lifetime of the program. There's never been anything like this. You know, they're not going to be able to cut benefits. That's a little bit in the weeds, but you know, I don't know if we'll get there today, but don't really worry about benefit cuts per se. What they're trying to do is dismantle the Social Security Administration, brick by brick and worker by worker, and get into the data of the program, threaten the program in the deepest possible ways, which we will get into today. What they're going to do with this data is very troublesome on a lot of levels, but one of the levels is Social Security itself, what they can do to Social Security itself just by getting into the file. One thing that's clearly going on that's very worrisome is an effort to try to move over to change the system, to change COBOL. I don't know how many of you, if any of you even have heard of COBOL, but it's the software that gets used in Social Security. And you know, it's old, but it works. So one of the biggest issues that's on the table right now is if they try to change over, it's been tried before, our check's going to go out on time. Social Security has never missed a payment. Occasionally, an individual's check might come late, but over the 89 years of its existence, Social Security has never missed a payment. We are concerned that in some kind of a transfer, well, let me put it to you this way. Martin O'Malley, who calls my friend Nancy Altman with questions about Social Security, he was the last commissioner under Joe Biden. And O'Malley has come out, you know, publicly and said he thinks checks are not going to, sometime between 30 and 90 days from now, checks are not going to go out. Meaning the system will fail for the first time in its history. Now, should that happen, you know, there's always talk about touching the third rail of American politics, that Social Security is the third rail of American politics. If those checks don't go out, they have not only touched the third rail of American politics, they're going to be electrocuted on the third rail of American politics. You really can't imagine what the hue and cry is going, well, you probably can, is going to be if the checks actually don't go out for the first time in the history of this 89-year-old program.
Wow.
So that's a portion of the bad news. Let me tell you the good news. We were talking backstage, and I think the good news is really important. The good news is that your voices, our voices, really count. Here's what's happened so far. Do you remember that they said they were going to suspend phone service on April 14th? Well, there was a big hue and cry about phone service. Seniors need phone service to the Social Security Administration. What happened? Took it back. Took it back. They announced a whole bunch of potential office closures. Big hue and cry. What happened? Took it back. Same thing. So I'm going to say this right now, and I want some of you to come up, if you will. Come up and see me at the end of this program. I'm going to stay here the whole time. But we are doing an action on Thursday, along with Indivisible and a lot of other big groups all across the country. A letter is generated by Elizabeth Warren's office that is to the acting commissioner of Social Security, Leland Dudek, who, by the way, you might as well know that this administration had to go through approximately 120 people in the Social Security Administration to get to Leland Dudek, who would do their bidding. The first thing that happened was Michelle King, who was a very long time employee of very high up in Social Security
Trong cái
Administration,
Social
quit
Security Administration
overall
cắt
of
hết
this.
những cái quyền lợi
And then there were
của
100 more
người
people or
dân,
so
trong đó có những hệ thống
before
thu phí
they could find someone who was going to
Sau khi
literally
họ thấy
do
họ
their
có
bidding.
lòng
And this is
tin
one
bên
reason why
mọi người
they got their hands on data, because Lee Dudek let them do it. The letter is to Lee Dudek. The letter says, we demand that no Social Security offices be closed. That is the letter. And it goes on to say, if you intend to close offices, we need you to tell us and tell us now. Because we're going to demonstrate outside all of them. So we're delivering this now. The first thing we're going to do is thank the workers at the Social Security Administration for all their great work, because this is not them. It's not about them. It's supportive of them. And they're intending to cut 7,000 more of them, which you've probably heard. Social Security Administration was at its 50-year low before this administration took over. 7,000 more job losses cannot be sustained. It's difficult enough to get through, get your phone call answered, get your question answered, wait on the line. So they can't close any more offices, and they can't fire any more people. It's a no from our point of view. And we're advocates, we're going to stop them. The good news is we have stopped them in a bunch of stuff so far. And we're going to do it again. We just need your help. So at the end of this town hall, come see me wherever we are, the back or the front, and let's talk about maybe any of you who want to going over to the Social Security office in Buena Park. It's the one in your district, not far from here, and helping deliver this letter to that Social Security office on Thursday, where we're going to have Social Security, we're going to have this letter delivered to as many offices in person by constituents, by people, as we can nationwide. And there's going to be a lot. There's going to be hundreds. So that's sort of an overview of the landscape, especially with regard to DOGE. With regard to the program itself, we do need to get back into expansion mode. And I know you've been supportive of this idea, of these ideas, and I know you know John Larson, former chair and now ranking member of the Social Security Committee, which is part of Ways and Means, the most powerful committee in Congress, along with appropriations. So the good news I can tell you, another piece of good news I can tell you is when you hear talk about Social Security, what's going to have fiscal problems in 2035, all this kind of stuff, and we'll take a bunch of questions, I hope, that we can clear up all kinds of things. But we have had the solution to this for a very long time now. And one of the easiest solutions, and probably the most moderate, common sense solution to it, is this lovely bill by John Larson called Social Security 2100, which has been around now for a while. We were almost able to get it through in 2020, 2021, but had difficulty with the Senate, insofar as Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, who I'm sure you're familiar with, were a problem with getting a lot of things through. But this will come back once we get through this difficult time period. And let me explain Social Security 2100 to you real quick. How many of you even in this room know that there is a cap on the amount of income on which you pay into Social Security? Let me see hands. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. See, this is one of the most gratifying things about what we do. When I started doing this, really earnest and asking this question, which is maybe about 10 years ago, I'd say, I would ask that question and 2 people would raise their hands in a room this size. Now it's over half the room raising their hands, which we're making progress on this. So the current cap is $176,100. What that means is that everybody pays 6.2% of their income into Social Security up until $176,100. And after that, they don't pay out 1 more cent of income. Therefore,
Trong cái social
let's talk about
security
Elon
làm
Musk
đó
for a
thì mình
minute
trả
again.
620%.
I don't know what his tax return
Cho
looks
cái
like,
social security
but
mình trả tới cái mức 176
But-
176.100.
Elon Musk made $176,100 on January 1st. Therefore, if his tax return looks like it probably should look, he would have stopped paying in on January 2nd. Does that seem fair? Not really. We always mark something we used to call Millionaires Day. It's kind of an outdated term at Social Security Works. That was the day that if you're making $1 million this year, any year, what's the day you stop paying into Social Security? And that day this year was March 3rd. Meaning that after March 3rd, if you're making $1 million this year, you don't pay in 1 more cent to Social Security. Does that seem fair? No. The cap has always been there. The cap was there when FDR passed it with the help of one of the greatest women in American history, Frances Perkins, his labor secretary. When it was passed in 1935, there was always a cap. Because you know what? There were always people opposing Social Security. There were always people claiming that it was socialism or something when it's not. It is your money. These are your earned benefits. They belong to you. Probably the most important thing I'm going to say today. They belong to you. So the cap has always been there, but it's way past time to really do something about adjusting the cap. The Larson bill, for instance, makes people start paying in again to Social Security at $400,000 a year of income. No one can argue that $400K is a middle-class salary. It's just not. And the Larson bill is an excellent bill which will extend the life of the program for decades, allow us to expand the program and go to something called CPIE, which calculates your cost of living at a fair rate, because the cost of living for seniors goes up quicker than it does for anybody else, because the cost of health care goes up quicker than any other cost, and make other changes, including eliminating taxes on Social Security. And it can be done rather easily. All we have to do is send the right people to Congress. So another piece of good news is, in this district, you have already sent the right person to Congress.
Yes!
That's a really important thing I'm here to say to you today. You have done it. You have sent the right person to Congress. We need to make sure we keep him in Congress, but you have sent the right person to Congress to do this work. And that is thrilling.
Thank you so much, John.
Yeah, let's go back and forth and then I'll do my closing song.
No, I appreciate you so much. What I would like to do.
Well, you can do a closing song too.
No, not with my voice. I would like to move to the question portion of the event. So I'm going to have our fantastic intern read out some questions, and we can try to answer together.
Yeah, Oh, is there are you not Mike?
I am Mike, but
You are. Oh, he needs somebody.
or you can read up here.
I got a loud voice. Can anybody hear me? We're used to projecting.
Okay, we'll get started. This is coming from Linda from Cerritos. Will there be a rally in front of Norwalk Social Security Office on Imperial at Civic Center?
Ooh. Did you just put that question in after I brought this up? The answer is if a bunch of you show up and talk to me right afterwards, the answer is yes. I'm going to say to you, hands-off-socialsecurity.org, and we're going to set that up. But it doesn't have to be a rally. It can be just the delivery of the letter. But the rallies are better. Yeah, a rally is better. Sure.
This is from Deborah from Fullerton. Millions of people with disabilities rely upon Social Security and Medicaid, and about half of California's children rely on Medicaid for their health care. What will Congress do to ensure that these vulnerable members of our society receive these benefits on which their lives depend?
What's important here is that I grew up on these type of services, so I understand how important they are. And I know how important they are to my community. But it goes back to what John just shared with us. It's electing the right people to Congress to protect these type of programs. What you're seeing now is a complete gutting of such important programs that so many people in this group rely on. What I relied on growing up as a kid. My mom collects Social Security. So it starts with making sure that you all go out there and make your voices be heard by voting, by rallying, by protesting if this government, this administration is doing something wrong, and for darn sure in 2026 by electing the right congressional members so then we can fix this problem
Bầu cử
once
hai
and
ngày
for
hôm
all.
sau rất là quan trọng. Lúc đó là Derek sẽ
And the
ra bầu cử trước.
question, yes.
Ở trong Hạ viện thì mỗi 2 năm sẽ bầu cử một lần.
Interestingly, the question mentioned the most vulnerable members of society. And yes, that's true. Medicaid, and most people don't know this, this is another of the most important things I want to give you today, because this is something that, I mentioned how 10 years from now, 10 years ago, nobody knew about the cap. This is something that nobody seems to know right now, but in the future, I know I'm going to see every hand raised. Medicaid pays for over 50% of long-term care in America.
Medicaid đó
How
trả
many
tiền
people in this
cho
room knew that before I said it? A few. See, this is
Medicaid trả hơn 50% của những người trong
Medicaid
những
pays
viện
for
dưỡng lão.
almost 2/3 of
Cái đó
nursing
quan trọng
home
lắm.
care. Medicaid pays
Tại
for
vì
the
mẹ của mình cũng
majority
nằm
of
trong nursing home
home
trước
care.
đây cũng
When we
tháng
all
mấy.
know that older
Tại sao đó mẹ khỏe
people
thì
up
được về nhà.
77 want to be able to stay in their homes as long as possible. Medicaid is really the lifeline for long-term care in America. It also pays for this state, in many other states, this depends a little bit on the state, pays for a majority of assisted living.
Và trả cho
In many
những cái
states
khu vực
in
mà
America.
assisted living
So
cho những người già đó.
Medicaid does a lot of things
Medicaid
that
trả
you don't
rất là
even
nhiều
know
cho
that
những
it
người
does,
già,
that
những người
you
nghèo.
don't even know that
Nên
it
chương trình
does.
này rất là quan trọng,
Besides,
không
of
có nên
course,
cắt.
paying for children, in the deepest possible way. Cuts that are really going to hurt the most vulnerable the old and the very old and the very young. So here's the good news. Again, vulnerable members of society, we're talking. Vulnerable congressmen, we haven't talked about. 12 Republican congressmen in swing districts signed a letter the other day, 2 days ago, saying they would not vote to cut Medicaid. This is a huge, big deal. Huge. Now, there's $880 billion in the framework, in the blueprint, there's $880 billion of cuts out there. And they're going to have to go to Medicaid in order to pass this tax cut for the ultra wealthy. Right. But if those 4 votes would stop it right now, if those 12 people do what they said they're going to do, this budget does not pass. And
One of the things I shared with Don backstage is I don't know how much we trust what they are saying versus what they are doing. So we have to continue to hold their feet to the fire and hold them
Nếu mà trong
accountable for
4
what
người
they
đảng Cộng hòa mà
promised and
nói
committed
họ
to us,
không có bầu
right?
cho cắt Medicaid đó thì họ sẽ thắng, còn nếu mà họ bầu luôn thì họ thua. Có nghĩa là những người lợi cho người giá sẽ bị cắt. 80 tỷ đô la lớn lắm, số lượng lớn lắm.
people in swing districts like the one you won, you know, the one here is a district that is difficult. It's got a lot of Republicans, independents, and Democrats in it. And you know what it takes to win in a district like this. But at this moment, what it really takes is just telling people the truth. One thing I can promise you is that nobody wants their Social Security cut. Nobody. Nobody wants their Medicare cut. That includes Republicans, independents, and Democrats. Nobody.
Did you all know that a third of this district relies on Medicaid? That is how important it is.
Trong khu vực 45 này đó là 1/3 của người dân ở đây á, và họ nhờ về cái chương trình Medicaid đó.
Next question.
How will you protect Social Security and veterans' benefits?
Look, I think it starts with what we keep talking about is electing the right people, but your voice is so important. Your ability to organize as a community, as those that actually care about what's happening in Washington, D.C. here in our district, in Cerritos, or wherever you're coming from, in your home communities, is so important. You have to continue to rally, to make your voices heard, not just contacting me, right? That's so important. That's step one. You know, the other steps is making sure that my colleagues understand what's important to you. So if you want to protect veterans' access and veterans' care, go out and rally, send letters, you know, write op-ed pieces. We need that. We need more of that. You know, to win this battle against this administration, I truly believe it takes all of us. It's a fight. It's a fight in Congress, which we're doing in the minority, right? We're doing what we can without breaking the law, without violating the Constitution, sending letters, trying to have some form of oversight, making sure the chairman of the various committees understand what's important to us so that they can call them in for oversight. But then there's two other pieces. There's a piece that includes the courts, which we're fighting right now. That's such an important piece. You know, this administration wants to keep violating the laws and the rules and what you want from it. And we're fighting in that battle with the courts. And then there's a community aspect. And that's where you come in. Your voices are the voices. I'm serving for you. These other politicians, these other congressional members, senators, they're serving for you and their communities. So you have to make sure that you get together and advocate and make sure you're loud about it. That's so important. And together, when we work together, that's how we're going to win the day.
Like I say, once we get through this time period, but we'll get through it. We've had tough times before in this country. We've gotten through all of them. We are going to get through this. In 18 months, we're going to be in the midterms again. 15 months from now, we're going to be in the midterms again. We can get there. We
15
just got
tháng
to
nữa là
push
bắt đầu
back
có cái midterm election
and
là
stop
2026 rất là quan
all the
trọng.
most horrible things from happening.
Họ sẽ bầu cử cho
Then
thành
we'll
viên
elect a
thượng viện.
better Congress, and
Nên
then
nếu mà
things will come up
có
with
cơ hội mà
specific answers to this question.
có thể thắng được mà
John Parsons
bảo vệ những cái chương trình này thì
You know,
rất là
Bernie
tốt.
Sanders and Elizabeth Warren also have a bill. It's a great bill. It's a little bit more progressive than the Larson bill. The Larson bill probably has a better chance of passing. But who knows what's going to happen, you know, in some period of time, especially in 4 years, when we'll get hopefully everything back to a kind of even keel where we could all try to move the country forward together instead of what we're living through right now.
Look, the point is, at this point in time, you know, the Republicans have a trifecta, right? And someone even claimed that the Supreme Court is you know, Republican minded and it sides with them. So how do we, like these two ladies, I agree with that. How do we make sure we get some of that power back? And power in the sense of oversight, not power to destroy the nation and the country like what they're doing. It is, for me, about making sure that we hold these organizations accountable, or this administration accountable, for the actions that they're taking against us. And right now, there's nothing we can do other than write letters, scream at the top of our lungs at press conferences and what they're doing that's wrong. But once we're able to collectively come together and then vote in 2026 to win back the House at the very least, give us some guardrails of this administration, we can start performing those functions that Congress was set to do,
Right.
which is oversight, which is to pull in the small business administrators, the social security director, and question them on what's going on. And that's what we need your help with, right? Across this nation, not just in this district, across this nation.
And they do back off. You know, they, like I said before, they have backed off on a bunch of stuff. And the Supreme Court, you know, I understand, I take your point, but so far, you know, on the obvious stuff that's before them right now, so far so good. Let's see what really happens with Mr. Rodrigo Garcia and an issue that has really nothing to do with immigration and has everything to do with due process that every American resident is due, and a deep constitutional issue that needs to be adjudicated very soon. But yes, it's the courts, and yes, it's going to be everyone in this room. You know, but make your voices heard. Make your voices heard.
Thank you for your responses. Our next one is from Kareem from Fountain Valley. How will you deal with immigration?
Yeah, look, immigration continues to come up as the biggest issue, right? Trump
Vấn đề di trú.
won on
Đây là
two
một vấn đề
things.
rất là quan trọng.
Talked about lowering prices for everyday Americans, and then he talked about Biden's open border, which is completely false. And that's all they talk about, even to today. They blame everything on President Biden. Open border, open border. Now,
Như là đổ thừa cho
I
Biden
agree
không?
that there is a problem at our border, but we have to do more to make sure that we better fund
Điều quan trọng
our
phải làm
officers out there, the patrol
phải
agents
bỏ
out
ra
there,
những cái quỹ cho
right?
những
We gotta do a better job in hiring
custom
the
border để
judges that
đảm
we
bảo
need
control
for
của
all of the
border tốt
asylum
hơn.
seekers, and we gotta ensure that everything we do for this country, when in regards to immigration, is done in a humane, in a
những chương trình
humane
giống
way.
như asylum, chương trình
Because
về chính trị,
that's what we're
họ
about.
không có thể sống
This
trong đất nước của
country is
họ
not
được thì họ
about
phải
separating
xin vào
children
một
from
cái cách
parents.
legally để
This
giao
country is not about shipping over criminals to Venezuela or whatever deals that they have, but without due process. This country is about making sure that we hold the Constitution to the highest level. And that means that they have due process, right? So there's just so much stuff that we can do to make sure that we strengthen our immigration policies. And what we need from this administration is a stronger immigration policy that is holistic, not these one-off pieces, and definitely not what this administration is doing. You see ICE agents in plain clothes kidnapping people on the streets. That's like a communist country, China or Vietnam. That's not America, but that's what we're seeing today. So it's definitely not what this administration is doing, and we gotta do better, and we know that.
Thank you, Congressman Tran. Our next question is an online submission. Many small and medium-sized businesses in our district rely on imported parts and raw materials. With President Trump's new reciprocal tariff policy and a blanket 10% tariff on all imports, what steps is Congress taking to protect these businesses from increased operational costs and potential write-offs?
Yeah, look, it starts with us in Congress. We gave that power to the president in the past to be able to control these tariffs, right, as a tool. But now it's up to us to take it back. And I think there's a couple of good bills out there that's aiming to do that. Now, can it be accomplished? I don't know. I don't have the crystal ball. But what I do know is that their policy in the last 2 weeks alone has hurt this economy so much. It's like a roller coaster ride. I mean, look at the stock market. It just goes up and down, up and down. Or when he announces to buy at the bottom, so then he can announce a pause, so then you can see this money goes up, and you have congressional members who are trading based off of that, right? Completely wrong, completely disgusting, immoral, just this, I have no words for it. But the problem is with these tariffs is that small businesses that makes up a majority of our district, you know, our economy's backbone is our small businesses out there, right? Mom and pop shops. I own a small business with my wife out in Orange County, and we depend on
Điều rất đang nói về vấn đề mà thuế má tổng thống Trump đánh cho cả những cả đất nước, cả thế giới. Thì đối với Derek thì rất là quan trọng là trong cái khu vực 45 của Derek thì có 15 thành phố, thì trong đó có những gia đình họ có những cái công ty nhỏ nhỏ gọi là mom and pop shop rất là nhiều, rất là quan trọng. Họ đem nhập những cái hàng hóa về và họ có làm thuế và họ sẽ trả thuế rất là cao, thì cái thuế đó cái tiền nó sẽ chuyển qua cho người dân, họ sẽ đóng.
Representative Tran, Social Security faces looming insolvency. Would you support raising the income cap? If not, what solution would you propose?
Look, I think there's a lot of things that we need to do, including increasing the income tax, including taxing the billionaires out there and making them pay their fair share to this country. That they get to live, that they get to
Nó là
live.
những người tỷ phú nên nó trả cái tiền thuế giống như những người dân thường. Họ không có công bằng nếu mà họ trả rất ít cho những người dân thường.
We're on defense. Right now we're on defense. We got to make sure they don't destroy the program entirely. Look, the goal has always been, and again, I'm going to repeat what I said before. These are the best crossover issues for representatives in swing districts that there are. I don't know, are there any Republicans in this room? Registered Republicans. Right.
Does former count?
Đây có mấy người đang cùng làm.
Absolutely, former does count, because the thing I'm about to say about senior issues is these are the biggest kitchen table crossover issues that there are. They affect everybody. They affect Republicans, Independents, Democrats. They affect everybody equally. They really should be
Đây là những chương trình mà ảnh hưởng tất cả, dù là đảng mình, đảng Cộng hòa, đảng Dân Chủ hay là đảng Independent. Đây là những chương trình rất là quan trọng cho người dân. Chương trình Social Security là lúc mình đi làm đó mình đóng tiền thuế, rồi sau lúc mình retire mình được cái quyền lợi này. Và những chương trình Medicaid đó là cho những người nghèo rất là quan trọng, nhất là cho những người già.
There's no good reason for it. For those of us who do this work, we know exactly what the reason for it is. And I'll share it with you. There's $2.7 trillion in the Social Security trust funds right now. If any political entity, a political party, let's say, like the Republican Party, could manage to deliver this $2.7 trillion to, let's say, Wall Street, because that's what privatization would be. A lot of people would take this money and put it on, play it in the Wall Street casino, which, as you just said eloquently before, is a roller coaster. Okay, not a very good idea. In 2007-8, if you had to retire, you're out of luck. But who would benefit? Wall Street, because they get paid commission whether they lost your money or they made you money. And the entity that delivered the money to Wall Street, they make out great. The campaign contributions would be unfathomable. You can't even imagine how much money this would be if the massive Social Security trust funds were deliverable to Wall Street. Same thing with Medicare, exactly. Delivered back to private insurance. This is not a topic for today, but what's happening to Medicare in a sort of backdoor privatization of Medicare through Medicare Advantage is a topic that does need to be taken up in the future. And privatization of Medicare is dangerous. Medicare going back, what is privatization of Medicare? It's delivering this massive amount of money to the insurance lobby. Who's going to love you for that? The insurance lobby. It's not really very hard. Just follow the money, and it's not hard to understand.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Sharon in Cerritos. Is it legal to put tariffs on countries without Congress's approval?
I don't know if things are, whether if it's legal or not legal, that would stop this administration from doing what they want to do. Now, you know, I'm not sure when he does this, President Trump, he's doing it because he's trying to posture and negotiate. But how reckless is it to negotiate and posture based on our savings, our 401k, our stocks that we save so hard, our kids' 529 plans for their college funds? That's dangerous, and that's what he's doing. So whether or not it is legal, what he's doing is plainly wrong, and it hurts everyday Americans, and that's all I care about. And we have to continue to hammer him on this issue and this administration on this issue.
Thank you.
Hold on, I'm going to call Samuel because this is probably going to get there among 1,000 other things.
We only have a couple minutes left, so we'll spare the rest of the questions for the Congressman. The next one is an online submission. What is the status of the SAVE Act? It's being reported that it will allow the administration to delete voter registration records without notice and require women to re-register under their maiden name. Is that true? Has it been passed in the House?
It is true, and it has passed. I voted against this bill. Look, there is an active methodology that this administration and so many Republicans out there, I'm not saying all of them, that what they're trying to do is they're trying to control. They're trying to control the votes. It is a racist. It definitely is racist. It is aimed to make it harder for women who got married and now has to figure out how they have to re-register so they can vote. To vote, something that should be so easy. They're making it harder for veterans who are overseas, who has no access to their birth records, might or might not have a passport, just to vote. Again, 2025, it should be easier for us to vote, not harder. But what they're doing is they're turning back time. They're making it harder. Why? So they can win, so they can be in power. And I think everyone needs to always be aware of these actions and these legislation like the SAVE Act. It's very dangerous.
Thank you. Our next question is from Jackie from Cyprus. Is there communication between the parties?
Good question.
Wow. Well, look, I'm going to be very upfront.
Câu hỏi này rất là quan trọng là nói là hai đảng Cộng hòa, đảng Dân Chủ ở trong cái Hạ viện và Thượng viện có nói chuyện với nhau không?
DC is a lot more partisan than I expected. You know, on one hand, I talk to them cordially, you know, and it's fine. It seems fine. You know, but on the other hand, they are so scared of losing their power. They're so scared of being primary, right? And Elon Musk controlling a pocketbook of millions of dollars that they can throw into a primary challenger. They're so scared of President Trump controlling their base and getting voted out that
Những người
they
đảng
won't
Cộng
do
hòa đó
anything
họ rất là
that
sợ ông
is
Trump và rất là
positive,
sợ ông
that is
Elon
good
Musk.
for this country.
Là họ sợ
I'll give you
nếu
an
mà họ
example.
chống
When
những
I
cái điều gì mà
introduced
liên
my
quan
first
tới
bill,
ông
Protect
Trump
Veteran Jobs Act,
thì là
I
họ
pulled
sẽ
aside a few
sợ bỏ
Republicans
tiền
that
rất nhiều
I
để
had
cho họ
a
không có
decent
được cái ghế
relationship
nữa.
with. They both told me. One said, "This is a great bill, Derek, but I can't touch this." Great bill, but I can't touch this, because he was so scared of his party leadership, of Trump and Elon, that they won't even protect veterans. They talk about how much they love veterans, and we want to do this for veterans and that for veterans. Well, how about giving their jobs back that you wrongfully fired them for? Won't touch it. And another one just said, hey, I like this, but I would be crucified if I co-sponsored this bill. You know, and it didn't stop me from getting 60-something Democrats on that to
Và
sponsor
thấy
my
những
bill.
người bạn trong
Zero
đảng Cộng
Republicans.
hòa ở trong Hạ viện
Because they
đó
have
thì
no spine,
Derek
and they
thì họ
won't
rất sợ
stand
là
up for our veterans.
họ đứng dậy đứng lên cho những người veteran thì họ
Our
sẽ
next
bị
is an
tra
online
tấn
submission.
rất nặng và
Will your
không có được
district
cái chức
office
nữa.
set up a program to help constituents with social security problems, specifically to represent us in the areas of communications, social security protocols, and to assure our basic rights? If not, what can your office staff do to help us?
My office and myself will always be here to help you. I got into this not for the money, not for the fame. There is no fame in being a congressman. I drove myself here. You know, my own car. I'm doing this to help my community, and I just want to help you. So if you face a problem, my staff is here, my incredible team. Cody, my district director, Roxanne Chow, my senior advisor, you know, Ileana from DC is here, and comms. My chief of staff now is somewhere probably getting food. From DC who's here. But we have a very strong office, and for me, it's important to have a strong staff and foundation, because at the end of the day, that team is supporting you and making sure that you get the services that you need from me.
I can say this from the outside, this is a very strong office. This is really an excellent office. I've had to deal with a lot of congressional offices, and this is a very strong office. So.
Thank you, Lord. This is our final question. This is Leroy from Cerritos. What can we or you do to wake Congress up?
Well, we gotta be loud. We gotta amplify our message. We gotta go out there, whether you're on Facebook or Instagram or Blue Sky, or you wanna go out there and do rallies. Do it. Get your friends together, start writing op-ed pieces. Call your senators, call your Congress members, it's like me. You know, that's great. We need to hear from you, because you are the most important part of this job, because we're here to serve you. And I would say that if you have friends and family in districts that are red or very purple, talk to them. Have them call their Congress member, have them call their senators, because that's what it's gonna take, right? Believe me, when I'm at the caucus meeting in Washington, DC, we know when we feel your pain. We know how frustrated you are. I'm frustrated, I'm angry, but I'm also not gonna break the law or violate the Constitution, right? I'm not gonna storm the White House, because that's not what you hired me to do. You elected me and hired me to make sure I represent you and fix problems for you and bring back resources for you. That's what I wanna do. But in order to do that, we gotta win back the House in 26, we gotta win the presidency in 28, and then that's how we're gonna do this. But together.
Yes.
Can we start the White House? Yes.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
I'm a veteran.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
I want to solve a problem of our Social Security, my money. Gave me no notice.
Oh my của quân nhân và cũng bị Social Security bị cắt ra.
I got to take one. I want my money back.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to know how can the government, Social Security, you said that. Who you gonna put me in touch with before I leave?
Yeah, it's gonna be Cody Ringer waving at you. Cody, wave to the nice woman.
Yeah, that's what talk to me. We'll all talk to you. That shouldn't happen.
Đây là
And by the way, you know, this
bạn
waste
nào mà ở
fraud
khu
abuse
vực
business, all
45
that
của
stuff.
Derek Trần thì có thể tới những cái buổi meeting như vậy để có thể nói chuyện thẳng với lại Derek là những cái vấn đề mà liên quan tới gia đình mình, quyền lợi của mình.
Last year, 0.00625%. Virtually nothing. Improper payments, which is something that does happen by the state, way less than 1%. This whole thing is made up. Doge is creating, Elon Musk and Doge are creating waste, fraud, and abuse right now as we speak.
Các bạn nào có thắc mắc gì nhắc cho đây nha. Số phone là 743 901 105 hoặc là Alan Boy số là gmail.com.
If the president is complicit in taking U.S. citizens, valid green card holders, valid visa holders from the streets, from their home, from their work, and whisking them off to a foreign country with for-profit prisons, we are no better than Nazi Germany 75 years ago, taking people to a
That's right.
country in Poland and putting them in prison.
That's
so
right.
my question is, what are you going to do as a member of Congress, as a lawyer with a good intelligence, and as a father whose children could be greatly affected by this, as all of us can? We need you to
Câu hỏi ông rất là quan trọng là ông nói là những người mà có thẻ xanh, những người mà có quốc tịch là ông Trump có quyền đuổi họ qua đất nước khác, và giống như là đi ngược lại cái thời mà Hitler bắt hết những người khác và đem qua những cái nước như Poland để giết. Derek nói là không tới cái đó. You never know.
I think that's where I will leave for us to really ponder and think about, and definitely for myself. But we're going to have to hold them accountable the legal way, the constitutional way. There is no congressional army. I wish there was. You know, I can't call them in and arrest him or arrest Elon. The best way to fight against him is to vote him out of office.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes. 2026.
Private questions.
And 2028.
Thank you. Oh, John. Yeah, we'll talk to him. We'll talk to him. Yeah.
So, hôm nay là chương trình meeting với lại Derek Trần là dân biểu Hạ viện của liên bang. Xin quý vị có thể tới những buổi tiệc, những buổi khác như vậy để hỏi những câu hỏi rất quan trọng.
Eliana, go ahead, Eliana. Go ahead, Eliana. Okay, all elected, all elected.
Right here, go ahead.
All right, look at here.
Right over here. 1, 2, 3.
Wonderful,
1,
wonderful.
2, 3. 1,
Great.
2, 3. Okay, a couple more here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Oh, need to zoom out a little bit. Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right. Great. Else?
Eliana.
Right over here. Right over here. You're welcome.
Các bạn thấy là một chương trình rất là hay gọi là Town Hall Meeting với dân biểu liên bang Derek Trần. Hôm nay là tháng 4 ngày 21 2025 ở thành phố Cerritos. Thì ngày mai cũng có một cái buổi ở bên Bonaparte. Thì các bạn nào có những cái câu hỏi rất là quan trọng đối với đời sống mình hoặc là gia đình mình hoặc là quyền lợi cho mình thì hãy nên đến những cái buổi town hall như vậy để gặp mặt. Video trên. Yes. Rồi xin cảm ơn các bạn nhiều nha. Xin nhận lại sau.
Where's he now?
Hi Janet.
Hey!
I love this kind of town halls,
Happy
right?
New Year!
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy Cambodian last New Year.
That's right. That's right. It is. Yeah. Happy New Year to you.
Eliana with Congressman Communications. Councilmember Janet. So nice to meet you. Oh, you guys are